Chair, ladies and gentlemen, almost immediately after saying that I would do a level 2 speech 2 weeks ago, I regretted it because I thought, what am I going to speak about? And I racked my brains thinking about topics that appealed to me. And then I had, well, I wouldn't call it a brainwave, but an idea. I thought, why don't I talk about something that I'm not the slightest bit interested in? That would be a real achievement, to speak for a few minutes to a group of people about something that is of absolutely no interest to me whatsoever. And then I had to come up with the right topic. And that was quite difficult because at first it seemed there were so many to choose from. First of all, the very first thing I thought of was Formula One motor racing. But I thought, well, that's not really an interest. That's something that you watch on the TV. The next thing that came into my head was cricket, specifically cricket in Ireland. Now, that's where I grew up, and if you were going to write a book about cricket in Ireland, it would only be about 5 pages long, I would say, and 2 of those pages would be the foreword. And then I thought, well, is it really such a boring topic after all? Lots of people are interested in it. But I remembered a long time ago asking a guy on a Friday what he was going to do at the weekend, and he said, oh, I'm going to watch a cricket match. And I said, you're what? Because I hadn't quite, I hadn't ever met anyone who watched or played at cricket. And he said, cricket. And I said, oh, okay, but I had thought I'm going to keep my eye on you from now on. But cricket is a very popular game. Lots of people in the world play it and enjoy it, so I thought, well, that probably isn't a good idea. So the next thing I thought of was cats, and mainly the relationship that some single women seem to have with their cat. And I remembered a few years ago I worked with someone, and she had her office decorated with pictures of cats, and at Christmas she would organise a raffle for her favourite cat charity. Then I thought about, well, cats aren't so bad. I remember I used to come out of my flat in the mornings and a cat would jump up on the wheelie bin and I would stroke it. And I thought about the woman as well who supposedly it was a cat lover who picked a cat up that she had been stroking and opened the wheelie bin and dropped the cat in and closed the lid. So I thought again, and I heard a repeat of a program on the radio. It was Desert Island Discs, and it was a man called, he's an actor, his name is Robert Hardy, and I think it's from a few years ago. But at the end of the program, the presenter asked him, "You can have the Bible and Shakespeare," and he had chosen one of the records as the one he would take to the island. But she asked him what book he would take, and he said, "Oh, a history of the English longbow." And I thought to myself, that has to be the most boring subject ever, a history of the English longbow. So I went to the computer and I did what's today laughingly called research, but I think it was just, I looked it up for a few minutes. But the strange thing was, I started to get quite interested in it. The longbow had its heyday, if you want to call it that, in, I think it was the mid 14th to the mid 15th centuries, during the 100 Years' War, and the English were supreme. And these things were actually enormous. They weren't called longbows for nothing. They were about 6.5 to 7 feet high, made from a yew tree, because yew tree had the qualities or the properties that are the best for this particular weapon. The grain, apparently, according to the book, is tortuous, but it has those qualities of flexibility and tension. I think that's called elasticity, and it was perfect for that. And the more I read, the more I began to think this really is an interesting topic. And in a way, everything and the people I hear speaking here, there are subjects that I hear from time to time that I wouldn't think would be the least bit interesting or engaging, but I find that when I listen to them, they're wonderful, and I actually enjoy many of the speeches here. But it's not the hype that we get from the radio and the TV and the papers about the Olympics or about Titanic. I grew up in the place where Titanic was built. I would be more interested in it if it had done what it was supposed to do, float, but it didn't. So I don't know why 100 years after it went down that we're still talking about it. I don't really understand why we're talking about the old Olympics. But when I hear about people's hobbies, their interests, their passions, I think this is wonderful. Thank you.